A feeling of uncertainty and fear looms large in many parts of our country. With the provision of security being one of the major milestones of the NRM government in the last 33 years, this new wave of crime could change the narrative. As insecurity persists, the president is now advocating for an eye approach to criminality. But will this solve the Gentlemen, thank you very much for honoring our invitation. I should say the spotlight of the country is on you tonight, and I'm going to begin with you, Colonel Shaban Bantariza.
Why?
Because you speak for government, and these things, really, the government's voice should come out loud and clear. In his latest write-up, the president calls the security members, the agencies, the police and the airmen himself, the guardians of peace.
True.
But really, you are the custodians of chaos.
There are two things. Peace and chaos can sometimes be together. I thought you would talk about peace and insecurity. Those are contradictory. But you had earlier told our people that the president is advocating for an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. And many people have gone for that, which is the form of his anger against some perpetrators of insecurity in our country. But let me begin here. One, in society we have got three types of people. We have optimists, we have pessimists, and then we have got those who are neither nor. Now, many of us are optimists. Why? Because we think that we have moved quite a long way from a situation where everybody in the country, from every corner, felt insecure at every moment. We have moved away from times when people would have to retire like chicken by 6 p.m. Now, in the recent past few years, we have moved from a situation where you hear that in Masaka, this village, that sub-county, people have been cut and so on. And in Entebbe, women have been killed simultaneously in Nansen and different places. We have moved from that situation where now we have moved from that terror spread over to a situation where we have got incidences of people.
I don't know, Colonel Shaban Bantariza. We have not moved from those terrorists. In fact, we have moved to them. Because when you bring the incident of Nansana and Entebbe, these people who are terrorizing the people of Uganda are doing it during broad daylight with a lot of arrogancy. And in fact, in Nansana, I'm told they even stopped traffic and did what they could and left. Now, this is another level of criminality. If you, as the NRM government and the government you speak for, if your strength was peace and security, you are losing it.
Our strength has been peace and security, and we have kept it. And we can
no, you haven't, sir. You asked the father of Nagrinya.
You
asked the father of Ndaireho.
Yes,
you asked.
Yes.
This, you haven't.
Criminals have evolved. Their methods of work have evolved.
And you don't evolve?
We have arrested.
Where is the evolution in
the evolution
police?
is in the fact that we have arrested those who perpetrated those crimes at those points you have mentioned.
The evolution we have seen, Colonel Shaban Bantariza, is that they have given you more boots on the ground, they have given you assets, you have cameras, you have technology, but people are dying every day. It means when they give you the assets that you need, you're not using them. And in fact, the president in his write-up, he says the policeman was sleeping.
Let me tell you. The strongest economy in the world is the United States. In the month of July, in California alone, they lost 75 citizens shooting. They got 225 injuries in the same place. You cannot say because they lost 75 people to shootings in 1 month, they have no resources. So resources alone on their own are not enough. It is resources, the technical people, plus you and I, because security of the individual begins with you. Your own consciousness begins with you. How you cooperate with the security agencies, because there's no government in the world that will deploy in your car, will deploy in your house, will deploy everywhere. It's not possible. But, and also it's not possible As long as
Well, some people are paid to keep law and order.
Absolutely.
They are trained, and that's their job.
that's exactly why tonight.
So you are telling us it is part and parcel, it's part of, of life that we have to accept it?
That's exactly why tonight you and I are here speaking. We have come here safely. You can be sure we shall go home safely, because there's big effort being put in by the government that you employ, because you employ us. All right, to keep you secure. We are doing our best, but we are saying, one, as criminals and their criminality tendencies evolve, we also evolve new methods. There's a time when there were no cameras in this town.
Looks like they have evolved. They have left you behind in their evolution.
If they had left us, you wouldn't be
in that
here.
Evolution, you have been left behind.
We have arrested everybody who has committed crime against everybody else. Now it's a question of saying, please, judiciary, the courts, with the separation of powers, can you also catch up with trying and incarcerating these criminals?
Let me go to the Honorable Ibrahim. You know, we have read that for someone to accept to be hired to kill and is paid 130 Uganda shillings, sometimes it is even 20,000, that level of deprivation is alarming.
I think the points the president made shortly after the killing of Kawesi and the killing of Honorable Abeliga, the 12 points, 10 to Parliament and 12 in one of the documents he did. The last point was about fixing the economy. Because someone who was going to kill for 130,000 shillings, it tells you the state that we are in. The trouble, and Bantarizas, they are very intelligent people who edit history. And I wanted to start there for coming to this point. The time people used to go to sleep at 3, it was not because the government of the day was a very weak government. If you read the Pecos Kutesa's book and Mateo Charigonza's, who are generals, superiors in the military of Bantariza, they said their job was to throw bombs in Kampala to make sure that people go to sleep at 3. So the group you have in power today was a source of insecurity. They are operating in Namugongo. They are wearing policemen and stealing guns. And that's why for me, I am not one of those Ugandans they are going to lecture about peace as being one of the biggest contributions they have ever made. They were the source of insecurity. Most interesting to the debate of today is that they have made security and insecurity an enterprise. If you read the report into the Ghost Soldiers report, authored by Saleh Tenyefuza and the Honorable Mama Mbabazi, when they were executing the war in northern Uganda, generals one after another became rich because they turned the war into an enterprise for making money. Where we are supposed to have a battalion of 700 soldiers, we had 300, sometimes 200. And the generals became, I remember Major Sabit Mutengesa, who was director of records in UPDF and was exiled. At one time he did a report and he was asking, while the curve for buying coffins is going up, the curve for paying salaries also is going up. Said, but we are paying for coffins to take soldiers who have died fighting Konyi. How comes the one of salary also doesn't increase and correspond? I fear I might be wrong. Because when we had terrorism in Kampala, and Tumukunde took a lot of credit for having fought terrorism, for which he wanted the country to glorify him. The one who was a treasurer for Tumukunde, Kano Mujenyi, eventually brigadier, I don't know whether he's at which rank, because he has continued receiving ranks in retirement. They were receiving 600 million shillings per week. He became a tycoon shortly after the operation, starting to buy markets every day. I fear the moment you turn security into an enterprise, these are going to be the consequences. If you look at the budget, the aggregated budget of 2019-2020, the budget for defense has increased from 2 trillion shilling to 6.9 trillion. The budget of police has increased from 600 to 2 trillion shilling. The one of ESO from about 43 billion to about 134, and ISO is about 80 something billion. And the investment in that sector is not corresponding with the safety of people, of securing people's lives and property. Because in the past they have done that, I don't know And that's why you see all of them. Even when JJ came to Parliament, he was rationalizing the killings the way my neighbor here is doing.
No,
That there is no country that is free of crime. People who are seeing graves of their daughters and their sons every single day, they wake up and move from their houses, and you tell them there is no society that is free of crime. Mr. Museveni said the minute after capturing power that even a needle cannot disappear in a house. How comes a human being can disappear? And in his statement, I read from the beginning to the end, he says these policemen, the ones in where the kidnap happened, delayed to call the patrol. The patrol delayed to respond. The ones in the camera centers were sleeping. So I don't know why he didn't say the whole
general
yes,
brokenness of
there
the
is,
system.
there is disintegration.
Yes.
There's disintegration. There's frustration.
Honorable Theodore Sekikubo, you sit on the Defense and Internal Affairs Committee of Parliament.
That's true.
The chief executive of the country says the policeman was sleeping, patrol is not coordinating. I mean, these are the areas you're supposed to oversee. You're supposed to do a lot of, you know, to keep your eye on. So what is going on? Because Ugandans will also be looking to Parliament. People like you who sit on Defense and Internal Affairs, and you know, the ground, the center is not holding anymore.
Yes, Kamara and my colleagues here, what is happening is a matter of deep regret. Look, as Parliament, we've done our part. They said, you do a supplementary budget for CCTV cameras, for the extra LDUs to be trained. We did all that. Now, when you say you've put the hardware in place, that is the CCTV cameras, and the operators behind those cameras are found napping at a time when they are needed for that specific purpose of monitoring the security of Ugandans, the criminality in the country. But when it strikes, we find them napping. Now that's where the problem lies, Kamara. But I would imagine that the issues are more bigger than what the president is saying. When you talk about peace in abstract terms, yes, you can talk about peace. But when you narrow it down to those who get the brunt of insecurity, those who lose their loved ones, the question of security that we are secure does not arise or does not in any way hold. Look at it this way. My colleague Honorable Semuju has just mentioned about poverty and about how people are prepared to be hired and kill for 130,000 shillings.
Or even less.
Or even much less than that. Now today they captured photographs of the so-called Chigaga zone of Natete. The Chigaga zone is a paradox. You can't talk of a Chigaga zone amidst hovels. So you find a class where we're moving as a country. Those rich are getting rich and richer. The poor are getting poor and poorer. So as a mode of survival, even you can see by their acts, after that then they go on these telephone sets of their victims, they draw 500, they draw 20,000 shillings. You see that these were amateurs, only hired out to kill. But then coming to the bigger picture, what is the president now going to tell the country? What is it that is now going to tell the country, even those who are watching or reading statements being issued? What is there new that is to be said? If we have gone so low, you saw Mr. Patrick Kamara, what happened at the International Criminal Division of the High Court. You saw how, do you call them goons, toting guns, rearresting the would-be released suspects? Yes, it's known world over. If you are released on one offense or charge, government or the security agencies have the right to rearrest you for another crime. And it was well known since Justice Lydia Mugambe granted them bail. Now, must you really swoop and strangle people who have just been released by the temple of justice? You try to strangulate them, you tote guns in the mafia style. Now, what is the difference between the legitimate security operative and the goons we have now toting guns? You see, that's one of the problems. If one sees an innocent person being kidnapped, they would probably imagine that, oh no, those are the security operatives.
Okay.
Because that is their mode of operation.
Colonel Shaban Bantariza, the issue of neglect of duty was also talked about in the president's speech, about the policeman who could not man the cameras, people were caught napping. And I'm wondering, in most cases you find some of these small but important areas that should be focused on, it takes the chief executive of the country to even comment and you know, give direction. We wonder, where was the DPC to arrest, reprimand, and ask his men they haven't done their job? You wonder, where was the IGP to look into these issues? You wonder, where was the Minister of Internal Affairs and the State Minister? We never had them. It had to take the president to talk about the policeman who was napping.
Yes. Now, I am sure that category of leadership of the police operators of the camera stations that you're talking about, they must be answering those questions somewhere else. Perhaps not in the media, not in the public, but certainly the answering of questions continues.
When something like that happens, we expect to hear the Minister of Internal Affairs, the Inspector General of Police, you know, calling us and giving us maybe hourly or whatever updates about what is going on, and looking through who has not done their part. It had to take the chief executive of the country, and you're wondering, you have a DPC in the area, you have a Minister of Internal Affairs, you have an IGP.
On that one, we agree. Somebody definitely below the president should have made an explanation earlier than that. Somebody didn't. Now, the president, who is the chief executive of the country, as you say correctly so, who has been given a mandate and resources by the country, by his people, by the people, to take charge of their security, they get in trouble, and somebody who loses his daughter goes to a police station and finds a police officer who should be giving response. He's not even aware, he doesn't even know what to do, and he says, what do you want me to do? Now, the president definitely gets angry. That's why we were talking about when he says an eye for an eye. He's not saying that we should go for an eye for an eye or use the Mosaic law. He was expressing annoyance. He was expressing anger. And to that effect, therefore, these categories of people, talking, the minister, the IGP, the DPC, and the director of operations, each one of those will definitely have a question to answer as far as these CCTV operators are concerned, because it's not possible that they can be guilty alone, because if they are there is a supervisor, of course. So as a government, as I said, as people responsible for security, definitely where something goes wrong, we take responsibility and we accept that. And that they have said those people who were supposed to be on the job and they were sleeping on it, they should never be allowed to go into that job again. So those people you are talking about, there are two types of answerabilities. Operators take criminal responsibility. Their supervisors take administrative or political responsibility. And at the administrative or political responsibility, the appointing authority is the one who knows what to do with those ones, and definitely there's no way he was going to say, to mention them without listening to them. But the others were the ones responsible for tracking the thugs instantly, for coordinating the 999, so they can be able to trace the killers or the kidnappers. They didn't do that. So he starts with those because that's where the problem started from. But the supervisors are not innocent in that matter.
Okay,
Patrick, you see, when you speak like that, I think viewers might miss a point. Have we taken trouble to ensure now that we've put the CCTV cameras in place? CCTV cameras do not man themselves. They are human faces behind them. Have you looked at the human component to manage to run those CCTV cameras? Look, as we speak now, the other day we had the police. But we said, which police are we talking about? Is it the amalgamated police? Because you walk around, you have the police, you have the LDUs, you have the CMI, you have the ISO. Who is now responsible for what? Look at it. Go to the police barracks now. Go to the police installations now. Who is there to do the police work? Where are the professionals? So the bigger question I would like to pose at this point in time is that, do we imagine that the president can afford to continue being a lone ranger? You know, whatever happens, he usually comes up with this explanation, he tells the country this, he offers this solution, but they don't stand. And this is why I'm saying that as long as we do not address the human face behind these marvelous innovations we're putting in place, security shall remain elusive, and for a long time.
Okay, Honorable Ibrahim, there seems to be less community involvement in fighting crime. Have these security agencies lost touch, or have they been alienated from the people, so that we see a vibrant citizenry that can work alongside the security agencies in fighting criminality?
I think there are many places where the population doesn't think police or the military are working on their behalf because of their conduct and conduct of their supervisors. Since the LDUs were recruited, you've seen, you've heard, you've read stories one after another, how they move at night, arrest people, extort money from them, arrest them for no crimes committed. I don't think the moment you go and harass the population, that population will be comfortable working with you. That is one area where they have gone wrong. But you also need to address the issue, the Honorable Sechiko spoke about, the issue of human resource. If you spend 6 trillion buying equipment, how much are you spending on these individual policemen? We interact with them, they are human beings. People may think those of us who are in the opposition, but we've been their voices in parliament. They have not had, I remember when they used to deploy them to arrest us, we were the ones giving them lunch. So they arrest you in police custody, they are saying as they bring you lunch, I also need someone who is has been deployed to make sure you don't escape. So how much do we motivate the human resource behind these cameras and those who are carrying guns? Do they really think that they are appreciated by those who claim that they are their voices? Because I saw the president saying he is their representative. Do they really think he represents them? Because the moment you have convoy 13 sets of the latest model of Land Cruiser, each one costing about 2 billion, they are working every single day and at night. Because you see,
but
you can no longer blame.
You are appropriating more money to him. In fact, quite a big chunk is for donations and other things. You do that.
He makes the proposals. I have told you that the budget of police this year is 2 trillion from 600. I think part of the company is buying the security equipment. The one of the defense is 6.9 trillion, up from 2 trillion. So the money we've given, the security sector can no longer complain about a lack of funds. The president said in 2017, June. So the money to do the work is available. He has told you the cameras were bought, but those manning them were sleeping. Maybe the MPs should go and stand behind the cameras. But the point is, why are these people sleeping? Do they feel, first of all, that they are appreciated? One time I did an article in the newspaper. I looked at, because I stay in Chireka, every single day I pass by Mboya, where the defense headquarters is now. You will meet generals, each one of them in the latest model of Land Cruiser, costing not less than 500 million shilling. And then you go and see where the ordinary soldiers are sleeping. And then they will go around saying, you see, we represent soldiers, we speak for them. These soldiers are not stupid, they are human beings. For you are sleeping.
The good thing, the soldiers, they have a history. The NRA, and UPDF, they used to stay in Mama Ingia Pole, and everybody
and
every time
with their bosses.
With their bosses.
Now the bosses are driving the latest model of Land Cruiser. They are sleeping in Nakasero. They are sleeping in Kololo. So when you are blaming,
even that time we are not equal.
Yeah, when you, but you are all sleeping under the sun.
There is no equality under the sun. There can only be equity, but not equality.
But what I remember that they used to tell the juniors, say, no, Mzee anapanga.
That's how we got where we are. That's why we have got where we are.
For me, the point, if you want to ask yourself, you must investigate. why are the security personnel not interested even in using the cameras that they are complaining not having yesterday? And then you deal with that. If it is outright negligence, then you deal with it. If it is a lack of motivation, yes, publicly you may...
Okay, very quickly before we take a break, Colonel Shaban Bantariza, what Ibrahim and Theodore are saying, that when they have given you assets, they've given you money, they've given you support, the people of Uganda, and their hard-earned money through taxes, it's embarrassing that you're not doing as well.
Of course, there's should I call it gestation period? If you give us money in July, at the beginning of the financial year, the equipment that is supposed to be bought does not get purchased on 31st of July. It takes time. That's why out of the 10 points that the president gave as guidelines on how to deal with this security, which indeed we have done...
The uncoordinated moves of the police, the napping of a police officer, that has nothing to do with the gestation period you're talking about.
You are talking about the napping of a police officer,
yes.
And you know that we do not have one camera station. The other officers were not napping. So it's only an incident of somebody who was napping in his camera station, not all police officers napping. Therefore, other people have been doing their job, all officers have been, but in this incident, somebody napped on the job, like somebody can nap on his job in this station. So that's an individual human weakness.
If you listen to the father of the late Nagrinya,
I did.
He actually says that he took over almost like the investigation himself, because when he went to the men in uniform, they are not helping.
And that's exactly why the president has said those ones who were, because has the president sacked the whole police force? The answer is no. There are many other police officers who are doing their job, who are doing their best. Now, if you come to what Honorable Semuji is saying about motivating the police officers, okay? Yes, it is very important to motivate police officers, very important to motivate everybody who works for public service. The 470,000 public officers all need motivation. Doctors have been on strike here. Teachers have been on strike here.
Just here at Wandegea Police, and I don't know now, but a couple of days ago, there was not even running water for a long time.
I agree.
These are men and women who were supposed to help us.
And nobody...
Their situation is dire.
And nobody is saying that they should not... Nobody is denying them their entitlement deliberately. You can only distribute what you have, and if we have what is not sufficient, we distribute what we have until we get enough to cater for everybody. We have been progressively moving upwards. Equally, we need to understand that the security situation in the country has been, as I told you earlier, has been improving over time. And when I told you that just about a year or two, we were having security incidences in many places, and now you are hearing that they are in, this week it is here, and by the way today, but the police, our police capacity today, the international standard of policing is a policeman to 500. Today, it's a policeman in Uganda to 900. So when the police go to the police station and look at their records, there's a case of kidnap, a case of missing somebody being reported, and they are following all those. Some of them are self-kidnapped. The other day, some girl went to see a boyfriend, and they reported the kidnap, and they were looking for the fellow. So the police that we have, even if you have given us the money, we cannot develop their capacity, not only with the police, but also together with the other assistance agencies, which was talking about. He was saying, who is it amalgamated police? Yes. You see, the traditional doctrine that the military is for only sovereignty, the borders, or the integrity of the borders. That has since changed. The soldiers and the police officers and all security agencies work in synergy. They work together. You cannot separate them.
You don't like to respond to that.
Whereas he sounds right and correct, but he is aware that once you come to the statecraft, managing the state, you have what you call the constitutional mandate, where the seemingly sister agencies have different mandates and different trainings and different competencies for that matter. That's why I'm saying that if you train someone in military terms, on military assignments and military mandate, that is territorial integrity, etc. His response is knee and jerk. His response is shoot to kill. His response is to move on the enemy. But now where you have the complicated and sophisticated criminality, as indeed it is everywhere in the world, then you need specialized personnel, competencies, even with cameras, if you may ask. Okay. Do we have the necessary competencies? If you have, there would be those guarding the territorial integrity are the ones marauding the streets.
Honorable Semoju, I know when
will
you
you
talk
be
about
able to get
competencies, many people have talked about the special branch, that the disbandment of special branch really created a lot of trouble. I know at one point you used to write more on security and issues like that. Do you buy that?
No, I think for me the security system, there are a lot of educated people who are joining police, who are joining the military. But the system of sanctions and the reward does not promote competence in itself. And even the orientation of people who are carrying guns. When it comes to regime protection, you're going to see police very swift, you're going to see the military very swift. When it comes to law and order, that's when they will tell you there is no fuel, that's when they will tell you the patrol is not here. I remember the last time they put me under house arrest because I had a political rally. The whole of my constituency was full of soldiers and policemen. When you call them when a crime is being committed, they're going to ask you, does that person has a gun? Which type of a gun? So the moment you and I tell Kaiwa, each time you came to appear before the Committee on Defense and Internal Affairs, the moment you concentrate on regime protection, you are going to perform miserably when it comes to law and order. But also, individual policemen and soldiers, when do they get promoted? Is it when they are combating crimes or when they are fighting West or Bobi Wine? So that's the orientation.
Okay, gentlemen.
So the moment that becomes the orientation, the results can be obvious. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to know that we'll move into that direction.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. We're going to take a break. When we come back, let's look into the issues of unemployment, but also look into the rearrest of those men at the court in Kampala just yesterday. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guests tonight are Honorable Semoju Ibrahim Ngana, Honorable Theodore Sechikubo, and Colonel Shaban Bantariza, and we're talking about the insecurity in our country. But I think earlier you talked about how they are rearrested the suspects in the case of the Kawesi murder. Let me maybe ask my producer to play back those clips and we see the Guardians of Peace in action. There they are. You know, you can see their swiftness, their alertness, and how they respond to that. You could call it a disgrace at the temple of justice, but they had to rearrest those fellows. Are these the Guardians of Peace?
Who else do you have? Who has guarded your peace and mine for the last 30 years. We are the ones. We are the ones, together with you. You see, peace is not an enterprise that is undertaken by only managers. It is an enterprise that is undertaken by the managers and the managed, the benefactors and the beneficiaries. Now, this one, I have had condemnations, particularly from the Deputy Justice being read on the news. The intention and the action are not condemnable. And indeed, the Deputy Chief Justice did not condemn the action. Even the others, even the president of the Uganda Law Society, I have just watched him, they condemned doing that in the precincts of the court. So they think and say that that could have been done, that would be okay, but outside the precincts of court. Therefore, here we must contradistinguish between, yes, they have said it clearly, the Deputy Chief Justice clearly mentioned that that should not be done in the precincts of court. And we can discuss.
And that's what we are questioning.
And therefore we can say that the method and also the instinct of doing it in the precincts of court, that one should be looked into. I agree. Okay? Should we do that? But there is a contention already going on. And the president mentioned it yesterday in his letter. There is a contention of people who have committed crime or people who are suspects of very serious crime, aggravated crime, and then getting bail. Bail is an entitlement for everybody who has been arrested, all right? But then there's a question now going on. I don't know whether it's ideological or whether it is political, whether it is criminal or whether it is legal, but it must be resolved. Who should get bail at what time or when? Before we even come to this arrest, which was done in the presence of court, it was in the presence. It could have been done outside.
Who is supposed to
but the
grant
thing
bail?
is, what happened here has a background.
Yes.
You have ever done something like
So,
this?
yes,
in
yes,
2006 or thereabout.
Yes.
You know, what we know as the Black Mamba.
That's right.
And again, then the principal judge then called it the rape of the temple of justice.
Yes.
And you've continued
And that's
in total disregard.
That's why we are saying we can definitely look into the methods of.
We cannot
doing
say that you don't get it. We can only say you don't care.
We do, because we serve the public. And if the public thinks and says this method of treating us is not right, because even the suspects, you don't call them criminals until they are convicted. They are suspects. But then there's also a point at the fact that not every convict is guilty, but not everybody was
Kamara,
free.
Okay, sir. Let me
innocent.
okay, one at a time,
this
gentlemen.
Kamara
Yes,
tells you
Ibrahim.
what happens when there are no cameras. Because if you can brutalize citizens, because it's until people have been proved guilty by court, if you can brutalize them in full view of camera, would anyone be surprised that when you go to Narufenya, you've almost gone to...
But you saw the Kabwenge mayor.
Yes.
What happened to him?
So this is how they behave. One time we went
I met him
I
the
was-
other
I was-
day. We could see
I was
a man
with
who's...
Honorable Nandala Mafavi. We went to CPS. They had arrested boys who were moving with Dr. Resiji. Nandala almost fought there. I was now the one grabbing him. Policemen one after another. I don't know whether you're a policeman because you don't know whether you are dealing with the police. Brigadier Sevagal, I don't know whether he's retired now.
Yes.
He joined the army in the early 60s. I was helping him to do his book. He told him one time they went to Kwere Rebellion in Rwenzori. But it was standard procedure that where the military go to fight, you have a section, I'm not using the word section to mean the number in the military. You had some police officers following you behind. The military was never supposed to hand a suspect. You arrest a suspect in the Rwenzori, you hand over to police because that is their duty. But these ones, they arrest, they brutalize, they beat you, and then take you where nobody knows. Now just imagine what has happened to those fellows where they have been taken. And they have been doing these things. Bantariza, let me tell you, there are people whose manhood you have disabled completely. There are people whose families you have disabled.
And that's wrong.
But you continue doing
That's wrong.
it.
That's wrong.
You
The
continue
the
doing
problem
it.
is to
we
do this
we must
with a lot of
distinguish-
arrogance.
We must distinguish
In full
between
view,
individual
in the public
failure.
glare.
We must distinguish between individual failure or in the commission
Because
of
where-
his
where-
duty
where now-
and the institutional purpose
Where,
of doing
where now
that
is the
duty.
difference between you and Amini's soldiers?
No, no, no,
Because
that
Amini's
comparison.
soldiers
Leave that
never
comparison.
wanted to go through court.
Leave that comparison
They
because
would-
you are not
they-
there.
they
I was
would-
there myself.
I was there.
I was an adult during the state
You're
research.
telling me where is the difference?
The difference is
You grab people on the street, you beat them,
the
you
difference-
pack them in
here's
boots.
the difference. Here's the difference. The State Research Bureau officers, wherever they picked you, put you there in your boot, you ended up in Nama and the dead. These ones have gone back to prison where they will come back to
So
court
you've
tomorrow.
forgotten
So
people you have
today-
killed yourself.
today-
You don't remember the one you killed at CMI taking him to Morago?
Listen,
Yes, you don't remember that person from
that place where
Murukunji.
you are,
Manenero.
where you were in charge of.
Manenero, you don't remember how you killed him?
You are talking about killed him.
Yes.
We are talking about killing hundreds of thousands of Ugandans.
The day
in that
you
same
don't
way.
remember the numbers you killed during Kayunga riot, 60.
We are talking
You
about
don't remember the number you killed during walk to work.
the
Because
Kayunga riots,
nobody has
what-
sat down
the
to,
Kayunga
to
riots,
count
people
how
have
many
been
people
taken
you
to
have killed.
court.
You killed
There
people
is
in
a rule of
Rwanda,
law.
people when you were
There's
in
a big one in
government.
the
law that
Where is
you
the
legislate
difference? You have just
affect
massacred
us.
people in Rwenzori.
affect us.
There is absolutely
We-
no
we-
difference in your behavior like the behavior of soldiers.
That's what
See
the-
how you are behaving on the
General
street.
Jojo was telling you that on the parliament the other day. Don't politicize security because it affects all of
Was
us.
I in Kasese when massacres were being committed?
Who committed them?
Was I in Buruchoro when massacres were being committed?
Where-
Was I in
did-
Mukura when you were
where-
arresting people
okay.
When
in
our
the
policemen
Gentlemen,
killed,
one at a time.
You've
our
killed people
policemen
the
were
same way
killed.
Amini soldiers
And
killed them.
policemen and soldiers, people
All
are
right.
human beings as well.
Okay, gentlemen.
Must they be killed?
One at a time. Honorable Theodore.
You see, looking at the clip leaves one rather devastated. Mr. Kamara, I was part of Parliament that in 2006 I was really one of those who moved to recall Parliament from recess to condemn the siege and the by then under the outfit called Black Mamba when they attacked court, the Temple of Justice. I was amongst those who petitioned the Speaker to recall Parliament from recess to condemn the military attack on the Temple of Justice. Today this is what is happening. But I think over time, other institutions have looked on and have been now rendered toothless. I don't think today the parliament that sat today would have moved on with the normal business on the order paper without members raising this very critical matter. Maybe with the
But
time.
Honorable Sechiko, I was with you in the same van.
Yes.
Was our treatment better than this?
Yes, but at the end of the day, Honorable
Well, I
Semijo-
was within the van when we were being brutalized, even inside the van,
yes, yes,
as we were being taken, you to Chira and me to Nagarama.
yes, yes. Now, what has happened to the spirit of this country? What has happened to the liberators, Mr. Shaban Bataris? Because these were precisely the images that were being flashed around to show the brutality of the Obote government, of the Amin government. Don't do that. Don't go there, please. Because if you say and
A
you talk,
similar incident happened at Christ the King Church.
Yes.
Something back.
and
But
then
also one of our own from the Fourth Estate, what they did to him.
yes, what is happening?
The
Be-
center is not holding
before you
anymore.
realize it,
And
before you realize it, Patrick, the country is running amok. People with arms, you bear those arms on behalf of Ugandans.
Yes.
Don't abuse it. Don't abuse it the way you are doing.
I don't think they have been even in that
Don't-
picture.
don't
Nobody
be-
was shot.
there-
in
there
that
is no
picture.
way.
There was no abuse. There was no abuse of arms.
Look at what was happening.
When there
Why
was,
were they toting guns?
of course, there.
Those are instruments of coercion
Those,
and
absolutely,
terror.
absolutely.
And
Grabbing
Absolutely.
people by their neck.
No,
and terror.
no police
In
officer.
chokehold, you know.
Yes.
No police officer.
Now,
No military
to
officer.
me, that's why.
Don't fund operation.
That's why, to me,
empty-handed.
since this was my time to
that happen?
speak,
Okay.
let's look at ourselves once again. is this the right direction we are taking, rather than trying to justify the unjustifiable. It only happened to you. Look, give even a brief narrative. They were being rearrested for an offense committed in March, early March 2017. Now, for goodness sake, 2017 March, 2018 March, 2019 March, up to now you're waiting for courts to grant these innocent, because as of now they are still presumed innocent until proven guilty or until when they themselves have pleaded guilty. Now, since 2017, this is the only way you can rearrest them.
Are you sure they are being arrested for the same case?
No, because since 2017 they've been under in your hands.
Yes.
Unless when you say that while they were in your hands, again they slipped out.
The DPP told you a few minutes ago that investigations don't end until the conclusion of the prosecution.
Okay, gentlemen, we are going to take a break, and when we come back, I'll be able to open the line so that if you too have an issue, you can pick that call, and you see the numbers on the screen, and you call us, make it precise and concise, and be a part of this discussion. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guests tonight are Honorable Semuju Ibrahim Unganda, Honorable Theodore Sekikubo, and Colonel Shaban Bantariza. There was a time, Colonel Shaban, when I think it was Brigadier Kayanja, when the state gave him a go-ahead and he started an operation called Wembley. And Wembley, many people say, quite worked to get out the criminals and maybe breathe a sigh of relief in Kampala for some time. Do we need to go back to the days of Wembley?
No, that one we leave it to the security strategists, because you see what has happened because of our
gangsterism is just too much on the streets of Kampala. You hear here Bifati,
not quite, not the type that General Kayanja was fighting that time. And it's not him who constructed the Wembley. It was constructed by his superior commanders, but he was put in command of it. And then he had the soldiers, he had other operators, and they dealt with that gang story you're talking about, which was on any street in town here. And that time you would hear they have attacked this shop, they have attacked somebody, and it is on the street. But now it has, as I told you earlier, the criminality has evolved because the security is no longer that type of that time. So the criminals are now going quietly. They track somebody for a month, for a week, and get you at your gate and abandon you in their vehicles. And that's why now this strategy of having cameras on different corners, which although the cameras also are not yet sufficient, because they have covered about 60–70% of the area they should be covering. So that if a vehicle moves from anywhere and a police officer at some station arrests the others, they can be able to track it before it gets out of this cosmopolitan city. They will have found that one. So we do not have to go back to the Wembley times, okay? But we haven't gained that competence of just in time. Yes,
no way. There is no that capacity.
No, of course I agree with you.
Someone will just only that you
just in time. Yes, these are the gaps that we are trying to bridge. Right, when you hear the Minister of Internal Affairs telling you we have covered 70% of this, we have gun the thumbprinted 70% of our guns, so that we know which gun was used by who when eventually somebody has been gunned down. We have put 40% of the cameras or 60% of the cameras in the location we're supposed to cover, because the dark spots, for example, many of the dark spots are not yet covered. The other one in Rubaga, it was not even a government camera, it was a private camera, which helped us to get to those fellows. But today the fact is, these cameras which are there have reduced the incidence of crime because there is deterrence. Because cameras
people have been breaking into offices of human rights organizations.
Yes.
In some cases, area in Mengo, you even have the images of those who are breaking. In fact, in Mengo, they even killed somebody about 2 years ago at the Hurinet and other human rights organizations. And the images are there, or footage. Nothing has been done. Nothing was done.
I don't think so, because the footage that has been recovered of people who have been involved in a crime and identified, they have been arrested.
But also,
there are scores of people who have been arrested and they're in court or in prison.
But also goons are getting into an office of human rights organization, really?
Yeah, you see, as I told you, there's a time when people, there were a time when people were saying, why have you militarized the police? Okay, and we were saying the criminals have been militarized themselves. You are dealing with the criminals, some of who operate machine guns. You are going to send a police officer. There's a time when even taxis would drive into a traffic officer and crash him at the junction here at Marago. When we deploy the police now who are armed, that ended. So the type of criminality that people innovate, it means that word. It also takes innovation by the state, by the security agencies to deal with the ever evolving type of crime, and we are doing that. Because if you go out of the country, because you see, like in Kampala here and in the urban centers, there is a concentration of people from all sorts of life. They are the border, they are crime, because there is a high expectation of better life, and yet they come and they don't find it. So you are not going to say that the rate of crime, for example, in the cities and urban places is the same, because you ask the question, are we safe? Is the country safe? The country is safe.
Okay, just hold on.
Gentlemen,
let me just inform those Ugandans who have been watching this program and they have been online, maybe one or two, so that we can hear the Yes, I have a call online, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yes, this is Katonda Mathias calling from
I'm sorry,
Bala
sir.
district.
Your line is not very clear. Could you repeat your name and where you're calling from?
Yes, this is Katonda Mathias and I'm calling from Butambala.
Okay, you're on air, Matthias.
Yeah, I would like to commend Honorable Semuji.
All right. Oh, sorry. We seem to have lost that line to Butambala with Mr. Matthias. Yakatonda. Okay, I think you are still on. All right. Unfortunately, you have left your volume on your TV set high, and so it is bringing an echo. Let me take another call online. Hello. Hello. Okay, again, the same problem. So it's sending us an echo. Probably let us get back into the studio. But maybe give this advice that when your phone goes through, please, you turn down the volume. You just turn down the volume. Hello?
Good evening, Mr. Kumar.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm Yago Omar from Bugiri Municipality.
Omar in Bugiri, you're on air, sir.
Thank you for bringing those three men.
You're welcome.
But you continue bringing people like Bantariza who only speak for their stomach. They don't mind about Ugandans who are suffering.
Omar, I need to remind you, Mr. Omar, that Colonel Shaban Bantariza is deputy government spokesperson. Whether you don't like or you like, he's representing a section and he has a title, so he speaks for Uganda. I have to look for him because that is his job. Yes, we have another call online. Hello.
Good evening, Mr. Kamala.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Maganda Michael from Butambala.
Butambala.
I do appreciate Honorable Sem Uganda and Sechikubo for the information concerning our security.
Okay.
The issue is that this is a system which is totally down, and democracy is almost a nightmare. I think it is high time for President Museveni to resign, because there is no difference between Amin's regime and his regime, simply because the activities that were in Amin's regime are similar to what is in Museveni's regime. There is no respect for democracy. The citizens are being treated like animals. It is so worse and alarming. So I think there is need for these people to make sure that they carry out reforms and be able to respect the citizens. You cannot arrest people like animals.
All right. You have made your points from Butambala there. We thank you very much for your submission. And let me take maybe one or two more, then we can come back to the studio. I have a call online. Hello.
Hello, this is Sam Bukoto.
Sam in Bukoto?
Yes.
Okay, sir.
My question goes to Colonel Shaban Bantariza.
Okay.
Colonel, what is it that killings are so common in Uganda today?
Wow. It looks very simple, but it's hard. Thank you very much, in my view. I like your question. Let me take the last call online. Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir. You're on air. What's your name?
Yeah, this is Yakuna Matthias. I'm back from Butambala.
Matthias in Butambala, we had a line problem there. So we'll be back online. Please, can you make it precisely and be concise?
Yeah, I was trying to commend Honorable Samuji Ibrahim Munganda. Hello?
Yes, you're on air. Please keep talking.
Yeah, really, Mr. Samuju speaks like a professional, parliamentarian, and he deserves even to be given that post of Mr. Sabani Bantariza Zilizirwani.
Okay.
You have no job.
Thank you very much. The producer is telling me there are quite a number of other. Okay, I think we've got to cut those lines, but we thank you so much for having participated in the discussion, and we value your insights on the matter. So, gentlemen, there have been just a lot of appreciation for your what, but Colonel Shaban, there's a question.
You see, for me, the statement that the president makes worries me most. The list he makes of suspects, corporal so and so, captain so and so, and you have two types of crimes, two types of murders that are taking place. You have people who are being shot by guns. You also have people who are being brutally, in the most crude way, killed, either like Nigeria, who we are told was hit by Jacob Haka. So dealing with these two types of problems, you need to understand the background. Why? Why do you have, the president said almost 6 people who have been in the armed forces who are killing? And that worries me most. Because I have told you, this sort of killing sometimes can be done deliberately, either to scare a country or done by those who are supervising because it is an enterprise for them to make money. And even when you speak about Kayanja, a lot of credit goes to him for Wembley. You need, I think at that time we were in Monitor together, maybe you hadn't come. We laughed at the letter that Museveni wrote to Mururi Mukasa appointing Kayanja. He said, Kayanja, I have appointed Kayanja because he knows these things. That was the content of the letter appointing Kayanja. He knows these things. And that's why maybe they eliminated them. And then the president says, in his latest document, the one that was published this week, that these criminals have their allies in the police. So what do we do now? He said Kawukumi was in police, he removed them, brought Sabiti, who was a commander of his SFC, and together all the directorates now, more than 50% of the directorates in police are headed by military, and where I stay, and I am an MP, almost every police station has equal numbers of soldiers. They are on the road, they are on pickups, they are. So where is the failure now? The moment you want the ordinary policeman at the police post in Kurambiro, in Agirinya's residence to resign, you must go and get everybody resign. You have 2 former army commanders. J.G. Odongo was army commander, he heads internal affairs. You have another general who was army commander, Eri Tumwine, he heads security. Why are they failing? You can't say the failure to supervise is by the DPC, is by these ordinary policemen. I mean, the whole structure is disintegrated.
Okay.
These generals who are driving the latest model Land Cruiser and enjoying being saluted, I don't think they care about lives anymore. When we lost an MP, the president said each MP should be given an armored vehicle with sharpshooters. Because the generals, these ones, the Vantarizas who went to fight in the way, they now care about themselves and a few high-profile agents who are helping them to stay in power. They no longer care about the lives of ordinary people.
All right.
That's why no sharpshooters for the public, sharpshooters for the NRM people. Come to Parliament, you will see, or outside. Each NRM MP who was very vigilant during Tojukwatako, he has a pickup full of soldiers following him. And I saw that in Sudan. The last time I visited South Sudan, they told me, don't get out of your hotel because it is not the rebels of Riek Machar that we are fearing, but we are fearing our own soldiers beyond a particular radius. So I don't know now, and that's why Honorable Zake asked the Minister of Internal Affairs to come and explain. Is this an inside work? Because the points you are giving, it is not these criminals who killed Nagirenya that will be interested in a human rights NGO. It's not possible. It is the state. They twice broke into observers and took computers, observer the newspaper. Took computers to disable the newspaper. Those can't be ordinary criminals looking for money. You have also state agents who are brutalizing.
That's a deep state operation.
Exactly.
Okay.
No.
You want to answer the question and make your concluding remark?
The question, first of all, I want to why he's saying that the president has said that there is collusion. The president hasn't said that. He said, is it negligence or collusion? And he has to get answers on that one. So don't really put words in his mouth.
He said they have their allies in police.
He said, is it collusion or negligence? I have the document here.
He said they have their allies.
His writing is here.
Read it.
Right? Is it negligence or collusion?
That's a different story. He said they have their allies in police. Maybe we are reading different documents.
Maybe we are different documents. Indeed. Because
but
if
this
he
is
say,
on record saying,
how can he say they are their allies in the police and then he's not able to remove them?
But he said it's so in a document. I don't
now,
know.
Let me answer my questions. One, somebody asked why there are more killings today. There are many reasons. Yesterday, somebody was brought without head in Rwengo. Okay, a child was brought of a ROC chairman who had been kidnapped, and they took the child, cut his head, and asked for 3.6 million. Now, after killing that child, it has been found out that they took the head of the child to Basamize for witchcraft. But then they are saying that even that is not enough because those who kidnapped the child are saying the gods have accepted the head but not the blood, so we will still want more 6 million shillings. If we don't, we shall kidnap more. So there are many factors influencing these kidnaps and murders. Some are trying to make easy money. Some of those who are being hired to do that, they are on drugs, because there are many young people today who are actually involved in drug consumption. And so they don't care. You give them money, like those who are given 130,000 shillings to go and kill Nigerian. 130,000 for him is okay. There is no respect for it. So there are many factors influencing this. Somebody said, actually, it is Honorable Semuju, that people today are poorer. I have been here for about 50 years. There are days when we were much poorer, and people did not kidnap others in order to make money from them. They didn't do that. So there are many factors. Today, some people want to make easy money. There's this witchcraft which has now been ordained that it is also part of what gives money. Then there is also hate. People think that they can settle crime. I mean, they can settle conflict by taking the law in their hands. I get rid of you. So there is a lot to be done by not only the government or the state, but by even us, the individuals at the family level. Today we are bringing up children who we don't know. From nursery through university, the child belongs somewhere else. And by the time he comes back, his culture, his conduct is not what morally supports a country or a society. So there are many causes. Now, that was the question, really. The other one was Michael, I think, who said there's no difference between the Amin's regime and today's regime. What I was in secondary school from 73, 77. I was in St. Leo's.
That's my school.
That's your school. That's my school. Right? I was with state research people, because you know the second para soldiers used to have their games at St. Leo, had facilities. State research, nobody feared soldiers by the overmean. We had no trouble with them, but state research. Now the trouble with them and thereafter is that the violence was state inspired. Today, nobody is immune to prostitution. Nobody is immune. Even if he's a soldier, he's talking about the corporal that the president talked about, who are retired soldiers of the army. They have criminality as individuals. Even if they were still in the army, we have a court martial here. soldiers have been there, they have been court-martialed, they have been sentenced to the highest that I know, a soldier who came from Somalia, shot his wife and shot somebody who had made love with his wife, was sentenced to 99 years by the court-martial.
What about the one who killed the Bobi Wine's driver? So which court is trying him?
I don't know which court is trying him.
How comes you know the one of Somalia?
Because he was my soldier.
So
I am a soldier.
The one who
I know
killed
his
the Bobi
case.
Wine's driver.
Do you know every
don't know.
else yourself? Do you know every case that is in court?
Okay.
Do you know every
That
case
is your-
that is in the police?
Okay.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't
Colonel
talk about
Shaban.
what I don't know. You are talking politically. Me, I'm talking about criminals.
You are not
You are
talking
about
politically. So you
No,
choose
no,
one
no,
incident
let him
and
make
forget
it
the
you.
other.
It's you.
Please.
So for me, my point here is that government, which has been entrusted with authority and power and resources to protect Ugandans, has an obligation to do that, and that obligation is what raised the 10 points by the president, that let's use these strategies, and they are being implemented progressively. Today you do not hear the machete wielding fellows in Masaka cutting everybody.
All right.
You do not hear everybody being
Okay.
killed. So the incidences are there. But the point is that the criminality is coming down as the capacity of the government and the state and the cooperation of the Wananchi increases. Because without your cooperation, security is simply an idea.
Samuel Ibrahim,
Yes.
you're parting short.
I told the president when we had the chance for a debate on a radio station December 2014 that when he came into power, Uganda was the project. Since then, he became the project. And I told him that is the biggest problem. The moment Mr. Museveni as a person became the project for this country, look, the budget for donation, his budget for donation, this year has moved from 80 billion to 200. What will the ordinary soldiers think? I told the NRM MPs who were receiving bribes, saying a constitution in Webaji and in Kororo, you are guarded by SFC. These individuals have families with children who are not going to school. You go, they tell you come with a bag and you load 200 million shilling and walk away. The moment you begin treating citizens, including those who are serving you, it's just a matter of time for the state to disintegrate and all of us will be victims.
Thank you, Honorable Theodore.
I've been listening in to the callers. I want to thank them, but I think we are not really the same. The situation we are in is not totally the same as what was pertaining during Amin's time. And maybe there are explanations to that. Because you remember then there was the Cold War. It was the fashion at that time to have military takeovers, military coups. That was the time. Now, you cannot try to justify that. Now remember, you remember what was during Amin, how the situation was during Amin. Yes, that was an era. The 70s and the early 80s was the time of military dictatorships throughout Africa, and Amin amongst them. And having said that, I think let us pull back. The mandate, the legitimacy of every government is the protection of life and property of its citizens. The moment you lose on that core mandate, you become, you cease enjoying the legitimacy. And that's what I would urge those in charge of our security to take keen eye and a keen interest in that. Probably, Patrick, when you look at the clips you've shown us, you probably may try to rehabilitate Obote in the 80s, because here at Nansana, the insurgency was at Nansana. The landmines were at Kawanda, at Namugongo. Probably if there was that reaction as we are seeing today, of very feeble persons, people have been in jail for most of the time. The way you grab and strangle them in full glare of cameras, you probably say, hey, probably if that was to happen, if we were to have an insurgence around the city,
No, doorstep.
around Zana, around Nansana as it was then. That's why I'm saying that probably even then they acted with restraint, because this kind of reaction is not tenable at all, and it's not justifiable. And I'd really, Honorable Kano Bantariza, this is our country. And I think those players around, those in security circles, should look our country in totality. Nobody is saying we should have a collapse of government, but we're saying, can you put our house in order? Because the trend we are taking, but by the time you realize it would all be down, and there is no winner when the country fails. And this should be a message, whether to the president, whether to the generals he has appointed, it should be a message to the president. Now this saying of Kaukumin police, that shouldn't be the justification. For 33 years, if we couldn't build the police in the 33 years, what are we doing?
All right.
What business do we have as
Thank you
a country?
very much, Honorable Theodore Sekikubo. Thank you very much, Honorable Semuju Ibrahim Munganda, and thank you very much, Colonel Shaban Bantariza. Gentlemen, we appreciate your insights on these matters, and I thank all those who have called in and given up their submissions. I know these things are very emotive because they touch on matters of life and death, but I think Uganda is our country. We have just two options: to build this Uganda or to destroy it. But please let us choose to build Uganda. Good night and God bless Uganda.